what I wanted to talk about tonight was visualization, and I thought we could talk about it a little bit. Yes, for the horse shows, but also for you guys who aren't showing or aren't showing yet, you can apply this to other aspects of anything, in whether it's conversations or something that you have a worry about that you want to positively visualize, going well. We can use this technique for many different subjects, not just for the horse shows. But for the horse shows, when we talk about that part, I'll get a little bit deeper into it. And also those aspects can be used in the other areas. I'm just going to focus a little bit more on the riding part. But you can think that way, whatever it is that you want to get better at, or you want to feel more fluent at, feel more relaxed with, you can use this technique for anything. And the thing about visualization is that our minds don't really know the difference between that visualization and us actually really acting it out. There are so many studies of people, a lot of our athletes, for instance, some that have had like a small injury or something like that, and they don't want to keep doing these repetitive movements. So they stay fit. They work a little bit at the baskets or whatever it is, but then they spend also some time every day visualizing themselves throwing those baskets, the ball going in the hoop, actually visualizing and the feeling of their body going through that motion, and that, seeing the ball, watching the arc, watching it come down, whether you're playing baseball and you're hitting the home run, or you're a pitcher and a lot of these repetitive movements that are causing injuries. They've done tests where they'll have a group that only practices whatever it is, throwing baskets, a group that doesn't throw any baskets, and a group that visualizing throwing baskets. And no, wait, I didn't say it right. A group that's not throwing any baskets, and a group that's not throwing any baskets and visualizing, and a group that's doing it. Anyway, though you would be so surprised at the guys that come and then are asked to do, have 50 chances or whatever. The ones that are visualizing it and not throwing any, and the ones that are only throwing them, are very close in the success rate. And of course, the ones that are throwing the baskets and visualizing are having the best success. But if whatever it is that we do, if we can visualize ourselves going through that process with success, our minds are thinking that we have been here before, we've done this before, it's worked out before, and our body follows that suit. So it's neuroplasticity. It's something that when I was little, they told us the brain you are given is the way it is. It's never getting better. You can't make it work differently. But now they really know that there are certain areas of our brain that we can work with and grow those connections stronger. These exercises of visualization strengthen the connections and the motor and cognitive pathways And the mental rehearsals will create lasting changes in the brain. The more you visualize, the stronger the connections become, leading to your improved confidence and your improved performance, if that's what you're looking for. People also that are, speakers and things like this are using this as well. Why aren't you going? So the ways that you can visualize are guided visualizations, mental rehearsal, which is more what we're going to talk about tonight, and then also daydreaming with intent. So daydreaming with an intent would be a little bit more like something that you want to create for yourself, setting that that goal, or even looking for that goal, would be more like daydreaming with intent. Guided imagery might be where someone would walk you through a process. And mental rehearsal is what we're going to talk about tonight. The only way to really have success with this is to practice, and to practice before you really need it. It's like building a muscle, and we don't want to wait until the day before that big speech. We don't want to wait till the day before our horse show. We don't want to wait till the day before that big conversation to start learning how to do this visualization process. It's similar to meditating, where the more you do it, if you set up a little practice for it every day, the more comfortable you get with it, the more relaxed you're able to get into that space much quicker and much sooner. And then you will be able to find that space even when you have that stressful situation coming up. I think that the more than mental exercise, visualization taps into brain functions that also mimic the effects of the physical practice. So that actually talks a little bit to the muscle memory as well. But we need to be in that relaxed state in order for that to all flow. If you're uncomfortable meditating, if you're uncomfortable, sitting somewhere for 10 or 15 minutes, quieting your brain and letting yourself go through this, if you can't control that, it's going to be uncomfortable, and you're going to be even more uncomfortable before the horse show, not less. So it does take practice. It's something that you want to think about setting a little bit of time aside every day. If you're already meditating, you could replace a little bit of the meditating with this. Excuse me. If you're not meditating yet, I encourage whatever you want to call it. Doesn't have to be sometimes when I say to people about meditating, then they, like, I don't meditate. But I think it depends on what you think of as meditating. I just think about that peaceful moment with yourself. And sometimes we've talked about even here that can be folding the laundry, or washing the dishes, or sitting with a book. but just that quiet time where your mind isn't running through the list of things you need to do, or the things that happened yesterday that you can't fix, or the things we're worried about happening tomorrow. Just that peaceful time that you find, slowing down your mind and getting present. So whatever the word, grounding yourself, whatever it is. So to start the visualization process, we need to get into a place where we're not going to be disturbed. Somewhere quiet, somewhere where you're not listening to people's voices or going to be interrupted. If that's at a horse show or a clinic or anything like that, it might mean getting in your car and driving somewhere a little bit away from the other cars, locking the doors so you're not interrupted. Oftentimes at horse shows, it's hard to find a place where there's not going to be a friend knocking on the window or coming in the tack room or something like that. So you want this, it's important that you give yourself that time. I also really like to set a timer. If time changes, a watched pot never boils. If you're thinking a lot, you don't want to be late for your class or whatever your appointment you have, then you're going to be checking your phone, you're going to be checking your watch over and over again. On the other side, you don't want to be worried that if you really do get into a relaxed state and you really are enjoying it and you're going through the test a couple times, that you do end up late. So that setting a timer just takes all that stress away. I do that for my meditating too. Sit relaxed. Don't worry about, sometimes when people are talking about stuff like this, you're not allowed to itch your nose or move your foot or whatever. Sit comfortably and take some deep breaths and just get connected with your body. I don't have an easy time just telling my body to relax. So I go through piece by piece my whole body and get the tension out. If there's a place that feels a little bit extra, I will visit that place again. I usually start at the top and move down. During that time, you can have your eyes open or closed. It's totally up to you. Take some deep breaths. If it feels good to count the breaths, count them. If not, just make sure you're breathing all the way down into your belly. And I usually like to visualize a little bit about the breath. Some people will give the breath a color. I just think about breathing in relaxation and breathing out any tension. If your relaxation color is yellow or blue or whatever, it feels good, breathe in the blue, breathe out the red. Everybody's different, whatever feels comfortable. But just think about really breathing in relaxation and breathing out any tension. Start at the top of your head and just crinkle everything up. I crinkle up my scalp, my eyes, my mouth. I start by piece. You can do your whole body all at once if you're in a hurry, but I like to start at the top, squish it all up, breathe it out, and relax. Shoulders up, everything tight, breathe it out and relax. And then I go through my arms, my forearms, my hands, my rib cage, my butt, my thighs, my calves, my toes, and my feet. And I go through each thing step by step. I am literally always surprised at how much this helps me to let go. You guys that do yoga and things like that, you're already really familiar with going through this process, but we don't do it enough in our regular, in our regular day. So after you feel like you've gone through everything, just check in again. Make sure that there's nothing still sitting there. If there is, just tense up that part and then let it go. And then what we're going to do is if you want to work through, for instance, a problem, and then you can visualize, close your eyes, bring the problem into your mind's eye, and visualize a screen up on in front of your mind's eye. And it's okay to think about the problem. Many people think that if I think about this problem, then I'm going to create it for myself. But if you have something going on with that is you do have to deal with and it doesn't feel good, it's important that we acknowledge it. We can't just push it away and bury it. So if you're one of my clients was let's say, for instance, had a difficult time with one of the flying changes. And so this would be the problem that she wanted to work out. Just a training problem, nothing to do with a horse show. So she's going to put that problem up on the screen and she's going to let herself think about those flying changes that are not clean, or they are not working out, or the horse is kicking out at the leg, or whatever. And she's going to sit with that. And then she's going to move to a screen to the left, and she's going to start to visualize solutions to the problem. So when I am going across a diagonal and I get ready to ask for the flying change, my horse starts running forward and then kicks out at my leg, and the flying change is either crazy or it's not happening, or the horse is late behind. So now I need a solution, and I'm going to ask a little bit for this solution, but my mind is going to start to visualize the solution. And because you're in this relaxed state and you're not in the moment, solutions are going to easily come about it, because you know that when you go on the diagonal and your horse starts running off on the diagonal, that this is where you need to start. Either we don't do the flying change on a diagonal, so we're going to find a solution of creating the flying change from the counter canter or from on a serpentine or something like that. These things are going to come into your mind. I know it doesn't seem like it's so easy, but it starts happening. And then you're going to oh yes, I also realize that when I'm going on the diagonal and I'm worried about the horse that's going to take off, that I'm not doing the right thing with my reins. So I'm going to start to think about what would be the right thing to be doing with my reins. And then we've kind of gone through this process now. Well, instead of doing a diagonal, I'm going to do a serpentine. And instead of pulling back because the horse is running off, I'm going to ride my half halts in the beginning of the serpentine, check in that they're happening, And then I'm going to ride forward to the flying change so the horse has room to jump the change. So on and so on. Okay, now we're going to move one more slide over. And now we're actually going to visualize ourselves doing this. Now, what does that mean? We have one direction that the flying change feels good. So we have an idea of what it feels like to canter along, make a half halt, make the horse ready. The horse gets ready and we slide our legs and the flying change happens. So now we are going to put our bodies in that feeling, but in the new direction. We're going to visualize the arena. We're going to visualize the path of travel. We're going to feel our bodies riding along that line. We're going to ask the horse to get ready. We're going to feel that the horse gets ready in the right way. And then we're going to ask for the flying change. And we're going to do that several times so that when we get to the barn tomorrow and we are going to try to do that flying change again, we have a plan. We've already ridden through the plan a couple times, and we have a much higher percentage rate of success than if we had never gone through this process. We can do this with conversations. The conversation is about how we feel, how we are able to listen to what the other person has to say, still articulate what we want to say. If we had a job interview or we had to, ask somebody a difficult question, that we put ourselves in that place. And if you don't know where it's going to be, visualize a stressful place so that you can feel yourself being in that stressful place, in that relaxed state. Keep breathing. When you're going to do your flying change, notice certain parts of your body. Do they get tense? Do I need, after I do that one, do I need to go around? Do I need to do it again? Do I need to notice that my inside seat bone slides forward when the horse makes the flying change, that my leg is not gripping? Because sometimes when we aren't even doing it and our body is still riding a little bit defensively. So that kind of thing. So taking that a step further, we're going to go to the horse show. So my horse show is in a couple of weeks. I know the venue and I know what test I'm going to do. I know what the rings look like there. I might not know exactly which ring I'm riding in. I would always put myself in the most nervous making ring. If I didn't know which exact ring I was riding in, I would always ramp it up a little bit, because then if I got there and I wasn't in that ring, then it would feel even easier. If you're doing more than one test, I would do that in I would time it differently. So at the lower levels, sometimes you might do 2 training level tests in a day, or you might, with the upper levels, you might do 1 test on one day and a different test on the second day. That 2 weeks out, I would do 1 test for 3 or 4 days in a row, maybe even more. And then whatever test I was doing on the first day, that's the one I would focus on only the couple days before. And then as soon as that test was done, then I would do the process with the next test. So if you're doing 2 tests in one day, then you're going to go maybe 3 or 4 days on one test, 3 or 4 days on another test, then go back to the one that is most likely the second one, do that, refresh it, and then stick to, like the show is Saturday, I'm doing training level test 1 in the morning and training level test 2 in the afternoon. Thursday and Friday, stick to training level test 1. Once test 1 is over, then sit down in your car and do test 2. But don't go back and forth and back and forth. I know people that do that, and they've got those 2 tests completely muddled in their minds. So you really want to be, as you move up to the horse show, very specific about the test that you're riding through, so that you could do it upside down, inside out, and backwards. If you did go off course, you would be able to start it right up again with no problem. So we're going to go through that whole process. We're going to breathe. We're going to scrunch our whole body up. We're going to relax it. We're going to sit in the chair very comfortably. We've set our timer. And now we're going to visualize in our mind's eye. For me, what that means in this case is I might not have a screen. I would have my eyes focused a little bit up and into my, you talk about it in your third eye, but it's like in your mind's eye. And you are doing all the things. You're feeling it, you're watching it, and you're talking yourself through it. This takes practice. You could go through the first time only with the talking if you are unfamiliar, and the biggest thing that you need to do is learn your test. Then go through it once or twice, just learning the test. But so many people I see doing that, they're just like, go down the center line, turn right, diagonal, shoulder in, medium trot, shoulder in, medium trot. No. When you are learning the test, really go through it clearly. So even if I'm just going through the movements, I say to myself, forward down the center line, get ready and halt. Get ready and trot out forward. Small steps, turn right. Prepare and extended trot. Collected trot. Short diagonal. Short side. Forward trot. Small steps in the corner and shoulder in. Circle 8 meters and half pass. And I go through the whole thing. If there's a particular horse that one direction is more difficult than the other, I'll say, and remember the flexion and sideways. Get ready and flying change. Walk forward, then collect, then make your pirouette. Whatever your horse. Some horses need to be ridden a little bit more forward in some movement. Some horses need to be a little bit, go ride a little bit relaxed here for a certain horse that needs more relaxation, those kind of things. So if that's all you want to focus on, go through the test several times, step by step by step, this way. Then you're going to talk yourself through it. You're going to watch yourself riding it, and you're going to feel what it feels like. This takes practice and take time. One of the things that I found incredibly surprising is how much patience it really takes to let the movements come to you, even though you're going energetically forward. And it can get quite rushed if you're not taking that patience to let the horses finish their strides. So this type of process really helped me to find that relaxation. With my trainer, they're going to help me to find the trot for the test, the canter for the test. So, especially when we get to a show, sometimes our feeling might be a little bit off. So I'm going to trust the people on the sidelines to help me with that. But my feeling that I create at home, I can create with that visualization process. So as I'm doing the shoulder in, I'm really feeling my body shift, my inside seat bone get heavy. I'm feeling my legs, feeling the horse's sides. I'm holding, how do the reins feel in my hands? I'm feeling my body moving with the horse. And I'm really working at creating that feeling of every movement being done to the best of my horse and my ability. And I go through the whole test step by step. Now, one thing that happens in dressage tests is that people can get claustrophobic from the test movements and not take the time to prepare each movement. Each movement has a preparation, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And when we get our minds racing, then the movements all end up all together. This is, and then we get this feeling like, you know, we don't know where we're going next, or the horse might miss a half halt, but then we don't feel that it missed a half halt. So then we just get tight and hold everything together. So when you're doing your visualization process, you can work yourself through and you can feel, what is it like when the horse comes back to me correctly in the corner, and I can ride it forward on the short sides, and I can make my own corner and prepare for the shoulder in. What does it feel like when it's bending through the corner correctly? And so that then I'm going to ride like that in the show. My horse is going to love it because that's what he's used to at home. And then he'll be able to recognize me. And I will also recognize sooner if my horse isn't behaving like at home and does miss that half halt, or does lose the balance, or is making a bigger trot than at home because of the adrenaline and the excitement of the atmosphere. So I go through the entire test, talking to myself, watching it in my mind's eye, and feeling it in my body. And as I'm getting ready for that flying change, I am really riding the way that I know that I want to ride. And if I feel myself creeping up, I feel myself getting tight, I feel myself leaning forward before that transition, then I'm going to breathe through it. I'm going to notice it. I'm going to correct it. And I might come back and do that, either that movement again or repeat the test again with that awareness in a positive way. So I always talk to myself in a positive way. We're going forward there. We're going to turn here. We're going to make angle there. I'm not saying don't fall off the track. I'm not saying don't rush on the diagonal, because our minds don't hear that correctly. They hear the rush on the diagonal. They don't hear the don't part. They focus on the meat. They don't focus on the qualifier. So just be careful about things like that, where you want to refer to everything in a positive way. I am going forward here. I am preparing for the halt there. Don't spook at the flowers. Oh no, there's a flag there. It's more about, hey, pay attention to me here. We're going around the corner. If it's a place you might already know that there might be a certain corner of the ring that is a little bit more spooky than another. And you might be able to, ride that through a couple times, really feeling and visualizing yourself doing the things that it takes correctly to put your horse in the right shape and in the right frame and in the right acceptance of the aids to get by that corner, to get by that flag or those flowers or whatever it is. So after you go through the whole test, just sit quietly with that feeling. So your body has that memory of it's an active relaxation. It's not a relaxation like you are a wet noodle, because I don't, I'm not sitting kind of slouched and going through it. I'm comfortable. I'm not like all tensed and stiff, but I'm alert and my posture is stretched. My legs wouldn't be crossed. My feet might be flat on the ground. Those kind of things. If it's comfortable for you to lie back in the chair or something like that, this is also fine. But it's not like we're a wet noodle. So there's a certain amount of active relaxation to it, which makes you feel more capable and confident to do what you need to do in your riding when you need to do it. If you're a little bit like a wet noodle, I think that's going to be too passive. You're not riding the test. If you're all tensed, then you're going to be riding in a defensive way. So that this is a feeling like you're going with your dance partner. Your dance partner is listening to the preparations, and you're putting those preparations into the test where they need to be. When I like to go through my test a couple weeks in advance, and I notice what things are more difficult for my horse, what things are easier for my horse. How far in advance do I need to get ready for a transition? What is the feeling my horse needs to have to create that relaxed transition? Sometimes we over prepare, or we get thinking that that the canter depart is going to be too explosive, and so we start riding backward to the canter depart. So when we're doing our visualization process, we need to actively be riding the horse over the ground and giving them room for that canter depart. There's so many things between the horse and rider that are particular to you guys that you need to think about how to get my horse to anticipate in a positive way. And that's what I'm putting in my visualization process. I had the occasion once, I might have told you this story before, but I had a horse I was riding for somebody that didn't live nearby, and they came to visit. And I always ride through my tests a couple of weeks in advance with a very short warm up. And visualization and going through my test, and that's something that's really interesting for me. So I practice it a lot. I love doing it, playing with different ways. So I would go through the test with a very short warm up a couple of weeks before the show, just to find out what movements really didn't need a lot of warm up and what other things I needed to concentrate on more in the warm up, so that I could take my horse fresh to the ring, not tired. And that practice also gives you a lot of confidence that if you don't have time, or if it's really hot, that you don't have to do every single movement in the test in the warm-up. So we go to the show, and these people, I haven't seen them in months, and they come, and I am braiding and I'm talking to them, and I'm completely out to lunch. And I'm on the last braid, and Andrea comes to me, and she's like, what are you doing? And I look at my watch and I'm like, is that really the time? Yes, Nancy. I'm not dressed in my breeches. The horse has not been groomed. The tail has not been brushed out. The braids are there. All the tack is still in the tack box. The whole thing. Nothing is even slightly ready. And my time is I think it was 20 minutes or 25 minutes. And it wasn't a training level test. It was a Precinct George or an Inter 1. So she's like, well, you go get dressed and I will brush the horse. And I get to the warm up just in time to go to the on deck warm up, which means I have 10 minutes to do my test to get before I go in the ring. But this is a time where both things really worked. The process of doing the test a couple weeks before, just cold without a lot of warm up, gave me the confidence to know that most things actually worked out quite well. And the visualization process gave me that feeling like I had been there before and I had done it all before. And so I was not hyperventilating through the whole thing. In the end of the day, she did great, and I think she won the class. But it was Carrie says she would have thrown up. But the thing is that when it wasn't it only in the moment that I did the right thing. It was in the preparation. So I had already ridden that test so many times. And that was at a place that I knew, and I knew the ring and all the things. So that part felt, like I had done it already. And but think about that. We're so many things that we think, are we going to do the right thing in the moment, but that we can prepare a little bit for that. I could not predict from home that I was going to be so mixed up about the time. But the other things that I had done made it possible for me to stay on track and keep my eye on the ball. So we can't predict things like the weather, and we can't predict things like the other people in the warm-up and things like that. But we can predict control our state, and we can work to keep our relaxation and keep our communication with our horses, or the people around us for that matter, as close to level and as we are normally in not stressful situations, in stressful situations. So I love this process. I never really thought about it in other aspects of my life, but I do play around with it a lot more now, and I think it's very, very useful. And as I try to do new things in life, um, it gives you that time, that space in between what's happening and how you are going to respond to it, because you're in a little bit more grounded in yourself and knowing what you feel like, what you want to feel like, who you want to express in that moment. So, are there any questions?